Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer for the first time in a couple of weeks. We took a week off last time round because, well, in case you didn't miss it, or in case you missed it, that's the correct way to say that. Oh dear. It's our second stream today, in case you didn't know. Maybe it's already starting to show. Oh dear. Up to a wonderful start. Alas. Anyways, we skipped last week's usual Mass Effect Andromeda stream time because, in case you missed it, something particularly important happened in our previous Mass Effect Andromeda stream. Something that we had been grinding for 3 years straight. So, in case you didn't get the chance to see it, that's your sort of spoiler warning / go check it out. It is the most important, in a way, Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer stream that we've had thus far. Okay, well, cat's out of the bag. We maxed out all of the manifest. Our characters, commons, uncommons, rares, ultra rares, we maxed those out, of course. At least a year or two ago at this point, but we finally got the last of the ultra rare weapon upgrade varieties as well. So at this point, we're kind of in this weird place where for the first time ever, we don't really have any particular goals in mind for Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer. And although we've been in that situation for a long time now for Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, don't really know what that means in the Andromeda world. So we're gonna see, I suppose, here today. That means I deliberately took a week or two off from Mass Effect Andromeda. I've not played at all since our previous stream because, well, we've been playing for 3 years straight, and basically every single day, regardless of whether we were streaming or not, I was grinding off stream as well. So, needed a little bit of some time away from Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer, but we're back now, and I suppose we do have a little bit of credits, which we could use to get, I don't even know what, I guess exclusively consumables? That's the only thing we care about at this point? So, I don't know. Certainly not interested in doing that. So, I guess we'll get some of this stuff? How's it going, Roach? Good to see you. I mean, there's not really anything in particular we're looking for here, so I don't even know if we have to look at what we're getting. Or if we just say, okay, this is enough. It is faster, I suppose. It's a little less... feels a little less rewarding. Not quite the word I'm looking for, I guess, but... doesn't quite feel like you see the full effect of what you're doing in that case. Well, that's because you aren't. You are not seeing the items that you get. But it kind of doesn't matter. I mean, sure, we've always at times had a little bit of pressure on some of our consumables. There are a few different categories that are generally in much higher demand than others. That not being one of them. But I guess there's still something to be said for getting more of those, except the other thing is that if I'm not playing Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer in between streams anymore, because I'm not really sure that there's any reason to do that outside of just further inflating my Apex rating just for the sake of having big number go up higher, then I won't need to be using consumables off stream either. After you completed the Andromeda grind on Xbox, decided you were not going to do it again for PC, I cannot say that I blame you. I feel like, for whatever reason, the approach that I took may have been less efficient than the approach that other people have taken, because it seemed as though basically everyone else that I had played with maxed out all of their gear long before I did. So maybe for other people it didn't take 3 years. Maybe I'm the outlier in that regard, but I don't know. I mean, I was legitimately grinding it every day, or very nearly every single day for 3 years. And so it's not like it was for lack of effort that it took longer. So I don't know. But anyways, that, as I said, it means also, I mean, technically, we don't really need to farm dailies, nor do we really need to make a point of doing Apex missions. I mean, we can if we want to, I suppose, but we don't need the mission funds. We don't really need the credits. So, I guess we could just do stuff that we want to do and don't have to worry about doing what's optimal or efficient or anything like that, which of course, as I said, we've been in that situation for a long time for Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, but it's just, I don't know, it feels so different making that transition now for Andromeda. It's weird, man. I don't understand. Alright, well, let me hop into Discord. If anyone does wish to join me, just let me know. You are welcome to do so. Roach, have you played Andromeda on PC at all, or was it as soon as you were done on Xbox, you're like, I am not touching that. I'm not tempting fate by initiating the process and then potentially making myself feel inclined to continue to play until I've maxed all that stuff out. Lead me not to temptation and whatnot. Well, those dailies did reset recently, so there may still be some groups doing them, or they may just be finishing up, in which case it could be a decent time for us to see if we can find a group doing the flat Apex. Again, we technically don't really need to do that, but oops, I pressed multiple buttons at once, both the confirm button and the cancel button. The cancel button won out. This is probably a little bit too soon for people to be doing this. My guess is they're still on last or second to last wave of their, is it gold plus sandstorm? That is a good combo. I thought I saw one of these was sandstorm. No, I'm completely making that up. Maybe it was before the reset? That might have been it. Okay. Yeah, in that case, I guess we'll do... See if we can still find a group for Gold Sandstorm. My guess is we'll be hopping in right as the match ends. If we find any groups doing this at all, they may all be full. But it kind of doesn't matter. We could kind of just do whatever lobby we want. We could do Bronze Sandstorm if we wanted to. I recognize that name. Mess around with, I don't know. Sure. We'll do this. Base human soldier. So yeah, for so long, the name of the game for Mass Effect Andromeda was, well, it doesn't matter what we like to do, what we want to do. For the most part, we're committed to the grind. So we knew it was a very long process.
We need to secure this position. Enemies on
So
the move. Be ready.
we buckled in for a very long time, and we committed to it. And we didn't deviate from that objective very much. It wasn't often that we were just messing around on lower difficulties, unless it was for, excuse me, for a specific daily or something along those lines. We very rarely did any challenges for Andromeda. We do have several in this home that we've... It's a small number that we've done, but they're a handful. It remains incomplete in the tome, and honestly don't... Oops. Don't even remember when I last added anything. Also, it's been 2 weeks since I last played Andromeda, so it's the longest I've ever gone without playing Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer, at least, obviously, since it started. So we'll see if there's any rust to shake off. Maybe there is after, you know, one of the first things I did was jump off the map. So it is obviously bronze, so grand scheme of things, this, unless we've regressed tremendously, I think we should be fine. I think we'll be okay.
Run while you can.
It's not like it's been a crazy long amount of time. Took that longer than I wanted to.
Get down.
3 left. Go get them.
That was not supposed to be a bank shot.
We're tracking reinforcements.
So yeah, it's kind of a philosophical change in a way, or at least it would be,
The enemy's tapping into civilian comm traffic.
moving
We
from
need
the
to take out their
strictly
uplink
business
devices.
approach to the just hanging around, messing around,
1 device down.
having some fun with it approach, which I will admit, well, you might be thinking to yourself, well, Liz, I mean, surely that isn't that far of a deviation from
1 device
your
down.
previous Mass Effect Andromeda experience, right? See, this is the part where I have to be blunt. I have to be upfront about this. Be honest about this. I'm not the biggest fan of Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer. I definitely do prefer Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. Yeah, part of that probably has been the sort of ongoing, you could call it pressure that I've been putting on myself over the span of the past 3 years of constantly feeling like I need to be keeping pace with the Andromeda grind, lest I not
All enemy devices shut
be
down.
on
Good job.
track to actually ever max everything out
3 left. Go
and
get 'em.
quote-unquote beat the game, if you will.
Good. Stay sharp.
So that may have been a part of it. And so, you know, grinding out the types of dailies that can be annoying, like, say, Tech Mastery, where you're trying to get as many kills as you possibly can with your flamethrower, and then your teammates are just constantly shooting all the enemies that you're trying to flamethrower, or, you know, whatever power it might be, for whatever type of power mastery. All of your teammates are, you know, just using their pawn, or even missiling all the enemies that you're trying to get and just taking away from what you're trying to make your hard-earned mastery points for daily completion purposes. Especially if you're in a rush, because the daily's about to reset. Many times that has been the case where it's like, come on, man. I have to get everything done in this one match before the daily's reset, and you're making this very difficult to squeeze out as many points as I'm going to
Stay
need.
alert.
So that legitimately has some time pressure related to it.
Enemies
So that
heading
kind
your
of
way.
thing certainly happened a fair bit, mostly off stream, of course. As I said, every day off stream I was doing those sorts of grinds. Whereas on stream we're generally, at least as of late, starting after the daily reset has already taken place, so plenty of time then. Complete the dailies. But then sometimes same story with Platinum Apex, which obviously depending on what the modifier is, also be challenging. And if you, at least for some of the prestige dailies, it might even be most efficient
3 left.
to farm them on a solo mission on even bronze difficulty. Is fine.
Enemies cleared. Stay alert.
Say, Tech Mastery on Sandstorm. Do a solo on bronze. It's fine, you're still getting full credit for it. But for the Plat Apex, if
Recovery requested. Locate and recover.
it's Plat Apex, 1 life to live, and it's expiring in 10 minutes, it's like, oh goodness. Do I have it in me right now? Do I really want to be dropping everything to make sure I can get this incredibly tedious and painful flat Apex mission that I really don't want to get done when I might not even have a team of people to do it with me? So it's times like that where if it were totally just a matter of am I enjoying this or not, there is no world, not a single alternative universe in which I'm voluntarily doing that. It was just the commitment to the grind and that alone. Wanting to see it through. Maxing out all of our stuff and being able to say, yes, we gave Andromeda our all. And we can legitimately say that we finished it.
Hang in there, Apex. Artifact is secure.
Those were pretty much the only reasons why I just grit my teeth and powered through it. Now that there is not that sort of pressure, or at least if there is, to get those things done in the grand scheme of things, it's not like it's a huge loss if we don't manage to get a specific prestige or Apex mission done.
Just 3 hostiles remaining.
Because I'm not really missing out on much. There are still the very frequent bugs / gimmicks in Andromeda
Enemies down.
that frustrate me greatly. Sometimes more than others, but especially when you're on some of those really high difficulty missions with potentially Apex modifiers, or when you have teammates who are either making it harder to complete other side objectives like the prestige dailies like I was talking about before, or it's a plat mission and you have teammates who are sabotaging your hack / upload efforts. I think, was that last week or last stream or the stream before where we had quintessential example of that being the case to a T. Stuff like that where it's just like, okay, I really am not enjoying this experience right now. So I say all of this to tell you that, and I would like to believe, fairly upfront about this before. I know maybe everyone would like to believe that when it comes to people who stream and record videos for games or whatever it might be that they do, that they always enjoy everything that they're making those videos and streams about. That is not the case. There are absolutely times when, for Andromeda in particular, I am at best neutral, at times far feeling less than neutral about the game. Well, there are times when I like it, yes, but when things are going poorly / some of those very frustrating things are happening, at best, that is when I would feel neutral. But other times, definitely far worse than that. I say all this to tell you, although that is why, although it has made sense for a long time for us to continue playing Mass Effect 3 and multiplayer long. I did explode the grenade in my hand at the last second there, for what it's worth. I did still do it. But that is why it has felt fine, felt perfectly natural, and still very much enjoyable to do Mass Effect 3 multiplayer long after we maxed out all of our stuff for our characters and weapons. The same may not be said, may not be able to say the same thing about Andromeda multiplayer. Now that the grind is done and we can say that we have finished everything that we set out to do, all of our major goals are completed, I don't know if I have much interest in continuing to play this game through all of those frustrations. Perhaps the combination of not needing to do those grindy things, playing it less often, because I won't be needing to play it off stream every day to grind things up. Those two things, I guess, primarily. Maybe that's enough to make it feel more... Oh, the other thing is just the crazy bugs slash gimmicks that, although those exist in Mass Effect 3 multiplayer as well, in Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, they tend to be just silly, neutral things that don't really directly hinder your gameplay. In Andromeda, almost every single one of them is like a direct slap in the face. Oh, the game is now exponentially more difficult because, well, there's no reason. It was something completely out of your control, or something that was a complete oversight on the developer's part, which is just, when those things happen and when they are punishing, as is often the case for Andromeda, it's just like, okay, why are we doing this? So I know this has been like a bit of a rant here at the beginning, but this is because I have put up with these things for 3+ years and just sort of bit the metaphorical bullet and done it anyway. And now that there's this potential opportunity to say, okay, you know what? We did it. We're done. It's in the rearview mirror. There is a temptation to say, all right, maybe we just don't look back at this point and we say, we are done with Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer, and there isn't much else to be done for it, so we can feel okay about that. So, in many ways, I have been counting the days before I could say that for about 3 years. So, I am just trying to be, as I said, very upfront, blunt, and honest about it, that I'm not sure how much longer we will find ourselves playing Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer. If we do have, say, more challenges of the Andromeda variety that we want to break out, or we're just hanging out with friends who are also interested in, you know, maybe they have stuff that they want to grind and stuff like that to progress in Andromeda, then maybe that would do it for me. But honestly, I still don't know. I mean, as I said, it's sort of unfamiliar territory, so I don't understand yet what that other perspective or what that other experience is really like just yet. And so maybe it's all sunshine and rainbows from here on out, but given my past experiences with this game, I'm not so sure that that's going to be the case. Ooh, the gold apex is 1 life to live. That is unfortunate. Okay, well, we did make progress toward Sandstorm. Gold, obviously, we didn't, because that was Sandstorm bronze on that one. So, maybe we just see if we can join a gold of any variety here. Because then, and the other thing is, like, Roach, one of the most common things that people will ask me when I'm playing Andromeda is, well, many people have not played Andromeda at all, or at least have not played Andromeda multiplayer at all. And so when they see that Andromeda multiplayer still exists, and that I am playing it, they ask, are other people still playing this game, and how good is it? How fun is it? And so I have to walk this delicate balance of, on one hand, not completely trashing the game that I'm currently playing, while at the same time trying to be honest about my opinions about the game. And usually it's more of an emphasis on the former than the latter. I usually kind of hold back on my opinions to an extent, so as to not scare new players away, because I feel like that's kind of, you know, not a great thing to do for people who might just be checking out Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer for the first time. But alas, for someone who has been doing it for as long as I have, it's it has worn on me for quite some time. And so, having taken some time off from Andromeda, perhaps that will help as well. But I think the real test is going to be once and we haven't really been doing it today, at least not yet, but once we get back into some of those plat missions, in particular, when we either have a really difficult objective wave, or it's a frustrating Flat Apex mission, or we have the funky
Nice job,
gimmicks
Apex. Keep it going.
that lead us to a death or two, maybe in quick succession, or to failing the mission altogether.
Hostiles en route.
I think I will know at that point much better how I feel about Andromeda. Does it feel like, oh, okay, you know, I've seen this before, we'll brush it off, or does it feel like, okay, you know, I no longer feel as though I have reason to need to power through this. I don't really know how I'm going to feel until we find ourselves in that situation, because it's kind of just a matter of how am I feeling at that point in time? Am I up for just shrugging it off, or does it feel like, you know, let's just not. Let's just call it a run.
Watch your six.
But I mean, that's, I think, primarily going to be a question
Run while you can.
more, but let me shoot these. I feel as though I could. I think it's mostly going to be a question for Flat, and Flat specifically, maybe the occasional gold match, because on silver, where we are right now, and certainly on bronze, when you do have some of those funky things happening that make the game more frustrating / difficult to complete, you can kind of just power through much more easily on the lower difficulties. Gold, maybe sometimes it's enough to make a difference, but Flat is where you really
Just
see
3
it.
hostiles remaining.
Run while you can.
Enemies clear. Stay alert.
Just divert people. I mean, honestly, that's,
Key enemy
like, I don't know how honest of an answer that was, Roach, but I think there legitimately is some merit to that approach.
Target eliminated.
Because, as I said, one of the more common questions was how good is Mass Effect Andromeda, and which one is better, Mass Effect 3 or Mass Effect Andromeda? And again, that's sort of where I had to be very careful how I phrased it, at least then, so as to not suggest that Andromeda was a bad game, but while at the same time still saying, yeah, but my preference is still Mass Effect 3. Now, perhaps it's a little bit more aggressive of or a little bit more blunt of a, yeah, no, Mass Effect 3 multiplayer is just objectively better in most ways. The other thing that at least is always, I'm stuck right now for what it's worth. That's because I'm on this cactus. I've never done this before. I've never been in this spot.
Teammate
Okay.
injured.
Can I actually get out?
Target still
Now you actually see how stuck I was. Okay. Relatively, but not completely is the answer. Admittedly, I lost my train of thought a little there.
Incoming fire.
It's not just stuff. Oops! I also was charging up a grenade. I was cooking a grenade as I fell off there, for what it's worth. I was gonna kill him.
Teammate injured.
What was I? What exactly was I talking about? Oh, the, what, diverting people to... From Andromeda to ME3, but what was it more specific? I really forget. Like there was a sort of a point that I was building for. I don't know what it was. Afraid it is lost. Absolutely.
Destroyer!
Oh, I think I know what it was. I think it was, the other tricky part has always been that to the relatively uninitiated, at first glance, people see Mass Effect 3 and Mass Effect Andromeda. They compare them, and one of the first things they notice is that Mass Effect Andromeda, obviously it's newer, and it feels more dynamic because there are 3 dimensions. You know, you can jump, unlike in Mass Effect 3. I mean, sure, there are ladders and ramps still in Mass Effect 3, but much less verticality to it. And in general, it just feels like it's a more mobile playstyle, I think, in Mass Effect Andromeda. People look at that and they say, oh, but the gameplay. People always say, I think it's obviously it's widely understood that the story, the plot, the characters, all those sorts of things in Andromeda, those are widely acknowledged as being inferior in Andromeda relative to the original trilogy. But then there's the argument of, well, people just didn't give Andromeda a fair shot. And the thing that they really overlook is the gameplay. Mass Effect Andromeda gameplay is actually the best of the trilogy, or of the whole franchise. And that's where, at surface level, there is some truth to that. However, there's a lot of nuance, yes. Not sure that's necessarily the right word to describe it, though. Not the perfect word to describe it. Because particularly when you start to push the limits on the higher difficulties, there are just things that completely fall apart. I mean, fundamentally completely fall apart for Andromeda. The most obvious not being that's more just careless positioning on my part, but the objectives, hack and upload, is just fundamentally broken. Like, it is a core mechanic of the game, and there are times when, for reasons that are completely out of your control, the game can become just about completely impossible to, okay, that's frustrating. That is possible to make that jump, but there can be ways in which the game becomes completely impossible for you to win, or very nearly, even if you play perfectly. And that's just abysmal game design. That's just like the quintessential way to make bad things. And then there's the other quirks that people just never really experience, or may not pay close enough attention to realize just how broken some of the various gimmicks and mechanics are. Things like oddies. Their grabs take priority over every other action. So you could be mid-nova in the air, about to hit an Audi. Audi interrupts that, grabs you onto the ground, and you're stuck. You're about to melee an Audi. You start your melee animation before they do. Yet the Audi takes priority and grabs you before you can actually hit it. There are various points in time, or just before the Wraith, the invisible dog-like enemy for Ket, just before that charges into you. It turns invisible. It has a brief moment in which it has complete invulnerability from damage. Whose idea was that? Why does that exist? It makes no sense, but it is absolutely a thing. On low difficulties, you may not even notice. Maybe you do go down at worst, but it's probably an easy enough mission that a teammate can get you back up, or you'll just use a gel and it's not a huge deal because it's a lower difficulty and you're not going to have to use many of those resources. But on higher difficulties, on One Life to Live missions, that can be the difference between winning a mission and losing a mission, and that is just really frustrating. the smoke cloud that the Kets can also create. Even if you aim a power directly at an enemy, you've seen them walk into the smoke cloud, you know they are right in front of you, you use a power directly in front of you, the crosshair is on top of where they are, the power will still miss more often than not. Also, the enemies will take less damage when they are in the smoke cloud. Why? Who knows? But it's a thing. So there's just things like that on lower difficulties / to more casual players, you very likely do not even realize that those are things. But when you are playing on the higher difficulties, and when you are especially trying to be, or when you have the onus on you to be helping out as one of the primary damage dealers, or, you know, whatever you want, like,
This position clear on enemy forces.
not
Let's
to
do
be
it.
like, you know, not to be, what's the phrase, self-aggrandizing, is that the phrase? Not to be super full of myself,
Watch your six.
not to, like, sound extremely self-important or arrogant like that or anything. Sorry, but be brutally honest, like, most of the time when I play on Platinum, on Andromeda, I'm the person who is, quote-unquote, the carry. If I'm allowed to be so bold as to say that. So, that means, personally, my margin for error is kind of higher, because if things aren't going well for me, then usually that means suddenly things are going much worse for the rest of the party. Here's an Audi. I was sort of dodging in the opposite direction, but I didn't know it was there, so that wasn't the best example of the situation I was describing before. But, like, you know, if you're a quote-unquote passenger, a metaphorical passenger, who's just along for the ride for Andromeda Platinum, you're mostly just hanging out, and your teammates are doing much of the heavy lifting, then okay, maybe it's not a huge impact on the rest of the team if you go down for a wave. But you know,
Nice
if
job,
I'm
Apex. Keep it going.
playing on Platinum and, like, my powers aren't doing damage when I do combos, which
Enemies headed
happens,
your way.
or I use powers and they're completely ignoring enemies in smoke clouds even though I aim directly at them, or it does a fraction of the damage that it's supposed to do because they're in smoke clouds, because apparently that's a thing, which absolutely happens almost all of the time. Like, okay, you know, this
Need a flatline.
this does, yes, certainly affect me, but it also has a pretty direct and tangible impact on the rest of the team. So, I cannot in good faith, all this is to say, I cannot really in good faith just make a blanket statement to say that the gameplay in Mass Effect Andromeda is better than the gameplay in Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. Not to be like a pretentious, know-it-all,
Run while you can.
self-fulfilled person when it comes to all this stuff, but at the same time, technically speaking, there are various ways, as I was just saying, in which the gameplay for Andromeda is extremely frustrating, especially under certain circumstances. Higher difficulties, difficult mission modifiers,
Get down.
smaller parties, or parties in which you have to do a lot of the heavy lifting. So, it's just difficult for me, and having experienced that so many times, oftentimes off stream, but certainly sometimes on stream as well. That's when people are asking me, of course, what my thoughts are about Andromeda. It's like, it's really such a loaded question to answer that. So it's really puts me in a bit of a bind.
One device down.
Shields down.
But how's it going, Investigote? Right, the movement, I think that is fair. And that's a pretty objective assessment. Like, just plain and simple, you can jump. There's no jumping in Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. That alone is a pretty big difference. It does feel more dynamic. Even outside of the jumping, just the movement from side to side, the dashing feels quicker. Movement speed overall might be quicker. Well, that may not be true. Certainly not for the fastest movement speed characters with adrenaline in Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. But it feels more dynamic, for sure. But
Enemy tech is deactivated. Objective complete.
to me, that just oftentimes feels like kind of a lazy excuse. It doesn't really reflect
3 more to go.
the actual playing experience, the true playing experience for Mass Effect Andromeda, which is why it does frustrate me sometimes when people just default to that explanation. Less waves than ME3. That, honestly, I think I do prefer that in Andromeda. I actually do think that's one of the little things, well, I don't know how big thing you would call that, but I think pacing-wise, that is an improvement. It just means it doesn't take as long until you're potentially going to a different arena, different enemy. You can switch characters, you can switch weapons, all those sorts of things.
Shields down.
Which I think just makes it easier to keep the game feeling fresh. Make sure, but I don't know what I was aiming for that one, to be honest with you. I did not really have a particular enemy that I was targeting. But yeah, maybe the individual games are quicker, perhaps. It makes you feel like, oh, okay, I've done my fill of Mass Effect Andromeda for the day a little more quickly than you would feel that way if the games were longer. Like, if the thing that makes you decide, okay, I'm ready to stop playing this game today is the number of games you play rather than the amount of time you've played a game, then maybe that means, okay, if from a developer standpoint you want players to play the game as long as possible, then maybe you have an incentive to make the individual games longer. But obviously that's kind of gross oversimplification in a few ways. Obviously, if that were true, if that were entirely the case, there's no nuance to it beyond that, then you can say, oh, well, okay, just make your games never ending. You're suggesting that that's the best way to have a game. And the players never stop. And obviously, that's not an accurate way to approach things. It's a gross oversimplification. But there may still be a grain of truth to that. But I still think it feels like sometimes in Mass Effect 3, an individual match can take long enough that it starts to feel a little bit of a slog. It does depend, of course, on how the match is going. Probably more likely to feel that way if it's been a little bit rough. That's true. Could just be an endless survival wave. What if, let's see, full message survival mode progresses from oh, okay, that progresses in difficulty. I was thinking, I've never played it, but doesn't Gears of War have a multiplayer mode that I thought gets compared to the Mass Effect multiplayer a fair bit. I'm not sure exactly what the similarities and differences are. There's a chance that Gears of War does this, but what if you went, Roach, in the direction of the enemy modifiers change? You know, they become stronger, basically, by having the difficulty increase over time. But what if instead, or potentially in addition to that, you have your character start off weak, and then every wave you get a passive point.
Lost shield.
So basically you start off as a level 1 character, and as the match progresses, you gain levels over time, and potentially you can do things like that for weapons as well. Okay, there's a good example. I was dodging away from the Audi, it grabbed me nonetheless, because it takes priority over everything.
Teammate injured.
Dodging the sharpshooters also are aimbots. They can snipe you regardless of where you're running. If you're dodging, as I was in that situation, immediately target you. Doesn't matter how long you've been out of cover for, and they can do it as they're running away in the opposite direction, sniping you from their butts. Their sniping laser does just go backwards. Their laser sight, whatever you want to call
Lost
it.
my shield.
Like for a 7-wave match for standard Andromeda, or 11 for standard Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, you might not have enough time for players to accumulate levels over the course of the game for that to feel like they can progress enough. But if you're doing an infinite number of waves, and surely you have enough time to do that. You have a potentially unlimited amount of time to do that. Then it would start to be kind of like, just to reference other very popular multiplayer games of roughly the same genre. It'd be like zombies, like Call of Duty Zombies, where you have the waves, and in between / during waves, you can, in real time, purchase upgrades for your character of various varieties. I've only played that a tiny bit, so I can't really speak to the details of it all that much, but something along those lines. Right, like I think people call this a horde mode a fair bit, and that Gears of War is the other game that they reference when they describe this multiplayer. Is that what you would call Call of Duty Zombies as well? Would you put that in the same category? Rex, hate how much movement there is in Andromeda. It's actually downside for you. There's hardly any teamwork involved here. Just covers so much ground constantly. Well, I will admit, for me personally, whether it be Mass Effect 3 or Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer, my playstyle, my preferred playstyle, is a run and gun, actively seek out the enemies, bring the fight to them type of style, rather than a pick a good defensible spot and let the enemies come to me on my terms type of approach. The latter of which probably works much better in Mass Effect 3 multiplayer than it does in Andromeda multiplayer. So, gameplay-wise, from that standpoint, Andromeda probably does play into my hand a little bit more, and I will say, I've, at least as of late, at least outside of this past couple weeks, I've definitely played more Andromeda and more frequently played on higher difficulties, such that I would consider myself a much better Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer player, he says as he dies. A much better Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer player than I am Mass Effect 3 multiplayer player. like I'm okay at Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. I'm no amazing
I owe you.
carry player on platinum, let alone sometimes even on gold for Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. Whereas, as I was saying before, on flat, I'm doing that pretty regularly for Andromeda, and I'm fine being the go-to person, even on platinum, as long as, you know, other circumstances are not too unreasonable. So, from a gameplay standpoint, in that way, Andromeda does kind of lend itself better to my playstyle, and yet, despite that, I still strongly prefer Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. That might also have something to do with it. Admittedly, we've been messing around a lot in Mass Effect 3 multiplayer for a long time, such that it is pretty darn rare that I'm legitimately trying to play a straightforward, optimal playstyle in Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. Certainly for the length of an entire game. Maybe every once in a while, you know, for a few waves, I'll dial in. But usually we're messing around in some way, shape, or form in Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, whereas, as I was saying before, for Andromeda, much more just a matter of strictly business. But even with that being said, even if I were to take Mass Effect 3 multiplayer a little more seriously in that way, I still think I would be a significantly better Mass Effect Andromeda player than I am a Mass Effect 3 multiplayer player. But still, strongly prefer Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, nonetheless. I don't even remember what... I remember we did that, but I don't remember what I was playing. What did I do? It was on Glacier, right? Because that's the place that you go to. Oh, I did the, wasn't I base human engineer chain overload? Was that the match where we did that? I think that's what I went for. So one of you guys had snap freeze. I forget what other... There's one other person who had a good priming power. So, I mean, in that one... And it was Flamer for you. Okay. It was snap freeze for one person, it was Flamer for you. So, I mean, in that case, as someone was mentioning earlier, I forget who it was, but it might have been Rex, was saying how in Mass Effect 3, or I think the point that this person was making then was Mass Effect Andromeda is more of a... You do it all yourself. There isn't as much of a team aspect to it relative to Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. Which I do think there's some truth to that statement. At least from a direct damage dealing standpoint. But, like in that case, for that specific match that you're referencing, Roach, I mean, that was a setup that I like playing, but it is very much a support setup of sorts because it is heavily reliant upon teaming up with teammates to set off their combos, and if not for teammates setting up those combos, then it would be significantly worse. And, like, okay. It's... Then you get to the... If you're trying to judge, well, how much did someone contribute to a match? And, you know, from a casual, surface level, quick and easy way to do that, obviously you can point to players' scores at the end of the match. There are some ways in which that's representative, other ways in which it's not, and it can vary from one match to the next just how representative it might be. There are some differences between Mass Effect Andromeda and Mass Effect 3 multiplayer in that regard, with combos in particular, because in Mass Effect 3, the person priming for combos gets credit for the kill, whereas in Mass Effect Andromeda, it's the person detonating the combo who gets credit for the kill. So, like, in that match, in Mass Effect 3, where I was the designated chain overload person just detonating everyone else's combos, I think I got just barely the bronze kills medal, because it was only from the occasional enemies that I was shooting, Whereas, you know, the assist stuff, that was all the time because I was detonating everyone's stuff. So if you looked at the scoreboard, you'd probably say, oh, well, Lids had a pretty bad match in that one if you just looked based on that metric. But that's probably not all that reflective. Whereas if I did the same thing in Andromeda multiplayer, I'd probably be way up at the top because I'd functionally be stealing everyone's kills. And then you think, oh man, Lids was doing so much in that one, when that wouldn't really be a fair reflection because there was a lot of setup that all the teammates were doing along the way. So it's tough in that way sometimes, but oh, then there's the balance stuff in Andromeda, which we haven't really talked about at all in this prolonged rant, this podcast about all the ways in which Andromeda is frustrating to play. But the weapons are wildly imbalanced. There are some that are wildly imbalanced in Mass Effect 3, but I think Andromeda, there's like one or two, and then there's everything else. They also butchered the Krogan, which is pretty inexcusable, if you ask me. So, Rex, I can certainly do it, but it does pain me a bit. Yeah, like, so in that case, Roach, like, that takes a more nuanced, sophisticated perspective to make that discernment in a game when someone is, you know, way at the bottom of the leaderboard, to say, oh, well, actually, that person was doing a lot. Like, that's harder to say. It might be true, but it's harder to say under those circumstances when at least the most glaringly obvious metric is suggesting the opposite. And then vice versa, of course. Right, but then maybe this is just the life of being someone who does stream and make videos for these games, where I get more of the people who are, you know, I mean this not as a slight in any ways, but, you know, the more casual viewers who don't understand as many of the nuance of the game, totally fine, but it means that is the type of person who is much more likely and will say these things, who will, you know, look at the scoreboard and say, oh, this person was carrying so much, or, oh, this person didn't do anything in that match, where it's like, well, that's, you know, hold your horses right there, and I don't want, like, it doesn't happen that often, but it absolutely does happen, and there's the temptation, whenever it does happen, to just say, all right, hold on, do we need to go into this whole discussion right now? Do we have time for a 30-minute explanation as to why that is not necessarily the case? You know, maybe we'll just let this one slide. So at least from my perspective, I am more exposed to the other side of the spectrum, where, yes, I totally agree with you, Roach. More often than not, it is more nuanced than that, and I would like to think about things more from that standpoint, but I am reminded more often of the other simplified approach to assessing people's performance, and that is sometimes frustrating when it feels like you know, someone is not getting the credit they deserve, or maybe is getting a whole lot of, like, you know, there might be times when I'm getting a whole bunch of credit that is not deserved for that reason. We do have room if anyone would like to get in on the action. I know we've been just going podcast mode here in a way. Rex, did you have a preference when it comes to which Krogan? Please don't say the Gladiator. You will make me very mad if you say the Gladiator, because I think that is the epitome of them absolutely butchering the Krogan. Yeah, and like, in general, you know, that's sort of my approach is, yes, I totally get it. There's a group of people in every game who want to optimize everything and either maximize the difficulty in every way possible or maximize the speed in every way possible. But that's just never really been that's never really been the thing that interests me most about a game. And pretty much, I don't know if there's ever been a world in which that has been the most intriguing thing to me, unless, like, maybe if it unlocks some other game mode or something like that, or some other benefits in game for doing the highest difficulty, maybe occasionally for like an achievement here or there. But otherwise, I'm just more interested in having fun with it, trying out some. I'm more interested, 99 times out of 100, I'm more interested in seeing weird and wonky combinations of stuff than I am in just going for a perfectly optimized cookie cutter approach, because to me that takes out a lot of the fun of it, when it just feels like, well, this is the obvious character, the obvious set of powers, the obvious weapon. It just loses a lot of the magic for me in that way, and it just changes the tone a lot as well, or at least I think it can. And I generally try not to have that be the point of emphasis. Right. And, you know, like, before I was the very first game we ever streamed, give me just a second, the very first game we ever streamed on this channel, and it was the only game we streamed on this channel for a while, was Path of Exile 1, which we haven't done for a little while, but Path of Exile 2, we are still doing. In fact, we did earlier today. But Path of Exile is notable for having crazy amounts of character customization, and the reason why I am putting this screen on here is just so I can have a second to open this up. This is Path of Exile 2, very similar to Path of Exile 1 setup-wise, but you know, this is the passive skill tree. So, I mean, sure, you can optimize this if you want to do something that other people tell you to do that they say is the ideal way to set things up, or you can mess around and experiment and try things that intrigue you and see what looks particularly fun and discover some things yourself firsthand, rather than just taking people's word for things and letting them play half the game for you. So, you know, this is partially my perspective, is coming from a game with 1,000+ passive skill point trees, which then have further specialty class trees, which then have, you know, thousands of pieces of gear that you can have, and skills that you can have, and passive skill gems you can put on to modify those. And like, I did the math once for Path of Exile 1, and it was quite literally in the quadrillions or something like that for possible ways to build a unique character, at least with simplified math, but nonetheless. So it's just like, for someone to say to you, oh no, this is the way to play this game and you must play it this way, otherwise you're doing it wrong, is just always going to make me second guess, or I'm never going to feel that way about a game. Or if it is the type of game that is set up such that there is one objectively optimal way to do it and everything else is comparatively inferior and less fun, then you've probably already lost me. So this is the kind of thing that I'm usually more messing around with and finding silly things to do, like, for example, in this case, trying to get as much critical hit chance as possible. Let's get 100% critical hit chance. Is that something that's practical, or something that the developers probably intended for people to do? Not so much. Let's get crazy damage with our critical hits. 1,000 critical damage multiplier? Is that something that they intended? Probably not, but let's do it, because why not? Is it optimal? No, absolutely not, but I want to be able to do it just so that I can see what it's like. You know, that's my approach. More often than not. Fun first and foremost. And obviously for each person, what exactly they find most fun, most engaging, differs. And so there are some people who are more excited about just maximizing the difficulty or maximizing the speed at which they can do things. And that's fair, that's perfectly fine. As I was saying, that's not generally going to be my personal preference, but I also think to some extent there may be people who do that stuff just for lack of alternatives. They just haven't really tried experimenting in different ways, and so that's why with stuff like all the various challenges that we've created over the years for both Mass Effect 3 and Mass Effect Andromeda, I try to go beyond just insert difficult map, insert difficult enemy, insert highest difficulty level. Haha, have fun, it's hard. Okay, there's not really anything particularly interesting about that beyond just the fact that it's difficult. But if you can come up with some more unusual and unexpected twists and turns, then you're actually changing the playing experience in the game. And that, to me, as he drops his headphones, is a much more interesting way to keep things interesting, especially if you're playing one particular game for a long period of time, as we have for the likes of Mass Effect 3, Mass Effect Andromeda, all those sorts of things. Did we have anyone who was interested in getting in? Or am I just going with whatever here? I mean, as I said, I've made some progress on some of these dailies, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not strictly necessary. Yeah, Roche, reason why you love using the randomizer is to do with the speed. Well, really? Wait, the reason you love playing randomizer has a lot to do with all the speed running you've done. Oh, it makes it a whole lot more interesting. And so, right, like, you know, how many times have you done Geth Infiltrator with a Javelin or, you know, insert other crazy, you know, a Rieger AIU. Like, if you want to just take a really simple, overpowered approach that takes very little, you know, new thought to come up with, you know, it's just a tried and true approach that has been used 1,000 times before and will be used 1,000 times again, then yeah, you could do that, but it's just, it can become stale. At least I think it can. So I think it's nice to just inject a little bit of uncertainty, a little bit of new and unexpected things to the experience to add a little bit more spice to the situation. Doesn't have to be all the time, and it can vary to what degree, but that's why I like doing that kind of stuff sometimes. And yeah, Investigate, you're welcome to get in here if you'd like. Hop in the waiting room if you'd like on Discord, or we could just go in-game if you just want to do that. And we do have Andromeda challenges in the tome, for what it's worth. I know we tend to break them out in Mass Effect 3 much more than we do in Andromeda, and we do have far more for Mass Effect 3 than we do for Andromeda, but we have done some in Andromeda, and we have plenty that we have yet to do as well, and probably still remains technically the largest untapped potential source of incremental challenges to the tome. Admittedly, I may not have always felt as inclined to make new Andromeda challenges, in part because it seems like there might be a little bit less interest there, but that may also just be because, in general, first priority has always been maximize credits, maximize mission funds, which does conflict to an extent with the just go out there and have fun, mess around, even if it's not perfectly optimal philosophy. Let me see if I can find you. There we go. Alright, Investigote is in game. Let me just check. Oh, yep, he's in Discord as well. Hello, Investigote. How's it going? You are the latest guest on this episode of various ways in which we nitpick details about long, grinding ARPG multiplayer games.
Yeah, I'm late because I slept. I stayed up very late, slept very poorly, and just did not get out of bed.
Admittedly,
Uh,
you are in such a different time zone from me. I have no idea what time of day it is for you right now, so I have no ability to and no interest in judging you for that, but also no ability to judge you even if I did want to.
it's almost 1:30, and I got out of bed like 40 minutes ago, so that's an idea.
Well, you're speaking to someone who regularly streams to midnight and later, and rarely has and also gets up for work early basically every day, so it has rare opportunities to sleep in and very much is interested in staying up, sleeping that late whenever possible. So you will get no critiques from me. No judgment here. That sounds like a good day to me. In fact, that is what I probably wanted to do today, more so than I actually did.
That's fair. Yeah, I've mostly just been struggling with sleeping for like the past week. It just isn't working right now for some reason, which is not great. Okay, gold waves.
Hopefully, in time it'll get a little bit better.
Indeed.
We do have room if anyone else is interested in getting in here, just let us know. But yeah, I find I used to always take forever to fall asleep. Like, head hit the bed, hit the pillow, and it was probably like, on average, maybe as much as like 2 hours before I would ever actually fall asleep. So at that point, I was not really getting a good night's sleep on any given day. But I think the biggest thing that ended up helping me was just for having a very regular routine for the 1 or 2 things that I always did just before going to bed. And then that sort of helped my brain switch into, okay, this is time to sleep now. Oh, Nanad can join in a game or two. Okay, I think that means he's not yet ready, but will be soon. I take that to mean. Rather than he will be ready for a game or two, suggesting he is available right now, but only just for a little bit. That is at least, if I'm hyper-analyzing the grammar of your statement, that is the conclusion that I'm drawing. Alright, well, Investigote, I have us currently set up for the daily, the Prestige daily. I don't know if that is something that you are making a point of targeting here. I have not finished either of them.
I haven't started either of them this
Okay.
today. So yeah, I'm keen.
Let's see, if we do... I prefer to lock in Cat, especially if... maybe I'll do... This is probably the... Excuse me, the Krogan that I play the most. I don't play this guy very often. He is also a flamethrower user. I am a
I just
fan of
noticed that
that.
you had a normal piranha with no variant. What?
End up with bulging discs in your neck. Ready to lay down would take like 30 seconds to fall asleep. Now it can be hours. Oof. I mean, on one hand, I'd say, oh, that's great that you were falling asleep so quickly. On the other hand, yeah, but at what cost? So I don't know how to respond to that statement. Now it takes longer. Yeah. Maybe I'd give you the same recommendation in that case. Just try to regularly stick to the same routine right before going to bed. And that way your brain associates that process with going to sleep. the other thing that I hear is that your brain associates different tasks with different locations. So, for example, if you say you were to regularly be on your phone scrolling through social media while you're sitting in your bed, you're sending your brain some mixed messages there. Is this a place where I am supposed to sleep, or is this a place where I'm supposed to scroll through my phone and look at social media? And so, to the extent that you can eliminate other activities that you do not want your brain to associate with a given location, that may help as well. It's like, yeah, some people, I've heard some people, I think even on stream, have said that they'll game from their bed, which on one hand sounds incredibly comfortable. On the other hand, at the back of my mind, I am thinking, well, I feel like that is the kind of thing that could, if your body is thinking as soon as you lay down in bed, oh, okay, it's time to game, that could get you amped up a little bit. That's not really something you want to have happening at that point. Which, granted, I'm a little bit of a hypocrite that way, because though I do not really do social media or what was the main example I was giving? I don't do social media or too many other things that might get me worked up right before bed. The thing that I have done that has been easier for me to go to sleep most nights is just before bed. That is when I am generally working out, which is, of course, by definition, something that is getting my my body worked up a bit. But in a way, it's kind of even though obviously it gets me active and gets the blood flowing and all that stuff, which might be gets the adrenaline going. That might be bad for going to sleep. At the same time, it does also help to just sort of clear the mind a bit before going to bed, which I think has been a big trend.
You also do proper warm-down exercises to not be, like, fully active.
Yeah, actually, that's a...
We want that to help as well.
Yeah, because usually what I'll do is, I'll do, you know, and not that I'm, like, training to be the next Olympian or anything like that, so it's not like these are world-class physical feats that I'm performing that require unbelievable amounts of strain and effort to complete.
Good. Stay sharp.
But usually I'll do that. I'll do a little bit of weightlifting or, like, you know, sit-ups and whatnot.
Enemies incoming.
And then just before going to bed, I'll stretch is the very last thing I'll do. So that's probably more than anything the thing that has sort of become my, okay, my brain sees I'm stretching, now it's time to sleep. And that is much more relaxing. Oh, then that is it. Okay. We can certainly get you in for the next one, Nat. I'm sorry. I perhaps did misinterpret what you said in that case.
Teammate injured.
Oh.
Supply drops in. There go my shield. I'm coming. for now. Great shooting.
Okay. Let's see where it puts us. Fortunately, this map doesn't have
We've
too
located
many
data sources. Get them
horrible
uploaded
places. It
before
really
the
doesn't have
Thunder
anything
Watch
that's
your
atrocious from a hack or upload standpoint.
There's a couple that I think can be very annoying based on, like, if the enemies just get on top of you continuously.
There are definitely some spots that are still better or worse than others in this map, but
Nothing that's like
nothing that immediately makes me think, oh no, we might lose this game right now because of where the hack went. Which absolutely is a thing on at least a couple of other maps.
data transfer complete. Almost done. There go my team.
no, I need to not say. Not do that.
Data received. That's a wrap. Almost done. Shields are down.
Oh, that's not good. No, I'm going into this cover.
I wonder if they'll make a recharge-based ability with charges in ME5.
3 left. Go get them. There go my team. Enemies clear. Stay alert. Good. Hostiles en route. We've got a beam.
Another one. There we go. Now I'll have this.
Leaned on you.
Oh, there. There's up. This isn't stun. Does it actually fight?
There go my team.
Oh, I got stunned by a different enemy. Very inopportune time. And now I'm also too fat
I'm reading a flat
to
line.
get around that corner. Was the cause of my death.
I'm reading a flat line.
Did that grab me? He might have been.
Uh,
Oh, 1 second. On my way. He's dead. He's not dead?
So much for my shields.
probably at like 1 HP.
Have checked.
I'm coming.
Yep, I just saw it for a second, 1 HP.
Grab a wall, front cover.
I swear, I do not know which button it is. My road is one. This flat can.
Can't help you, I'm not playing controller.
Oh! I don't even think I'm 50%
There go my team.
getting the one that I want.
All clear for now.
down that way.
Enemies incoming. Time to go. So much for my team.
Yep, that's me.
Shields are down.
Oh, back.
So much for my shields.
That's not bad.
Three more to go.
Behind you. Behind you.
All clear for now. These are broken. The enemy's tapping into civilian comm traffic. We need to take out their uplink devices.
Ooh, that is not that place. About to be a less
So much for my shields.
actually turning into a bit of a problem because we don't have that much time to do this. Oh dear. Well, I'll try to distract these guys.
There go my shields. Reading a flat line.
Wasn't healing me. I tried using off.
You legitimately do need to gel and immediately do it, otherwise we will not have enough time. I'm sorry. I cannot help you.
Nope.
I do not think we are finishing it in time.
Teammate injured. One device down.
Oh, okay, that works.
Teammate injured.
One moment while I attempt to not make a complete mess of this situation.
There go my shields.
Walk back down by the way.
On the plus side, the enemies are not close to this one. They're all on the exact opposite side of the map.
Until the razor pops up. It spreads across the map.
That's it. Enemy tech shut down. Grab a wall front upward. Shields are down. Reading a flat
Oh,
line.
I'm too fat to be
Almost
in the cover completely. Too tall. Really.
Nice work.
Funny part. Weapons are always not in cover, and yet for some reason the enemies shoot you like you are.
All enemy devices
There we
shut
go.
down. Good job.
Textbook performance.
Excuse me?
Shields are down. Three left.
Ow.
Go get him.
Ooh, that dude. There,
Thanks.
thank you.
Get to the extraction site.
Oh, I missed. At least I missed the enemy that I intended to hit. It was an accidental lateral damage there. Yes. That's a different enemy, so it's still beneficial.
I just realized I didn't even put any boosters on.
Oh. Not to kite those board deals. Let's not go that way. Skeptical. That's what we see in the previous game.
Teammate injured.
I love how he just did not get stunned by that. Makes Black Cannon too inconsistent.
Seconds.
Shields are down.
We are slow. And
Squad member
potentially dead in midair. That was interesting.
At least if you're dying midair, you're getting flung towards where your velocity was.
You know, it's just a different type of
down. Everyone standing.
acrobatics. New
Movement kick.
gymnastics. The likes that only the Krogan can pull off. Just imagine. The Krogan acrobats.
I'm just imagining putting Krogans in a catapult and launching them at a castle.
Now that seems way more Krogan-like. Or trapezis. That's what I'm thinking of.
That's probably what the Krogan would be up to if they didn't get uplifted.
Alright, let me get Nanad in, because I think he's still in the waiting room. Here he is. Hello, Nanad. Sorry, I did not realize last time that you had already jumped into the waiting room.
Oh, don't worry.
Let's see. There we go. Invite should be on the way. The old floating dead Krogan trick. Yeah, of course. It's a classic, isn't it? Alright. Well, we do have room for one more person if anyone else would like to get in. Otherwise, we could do it with just the three of us, or we could open it up to the public. We have been doing Sandstorm Gold because that is the prestige daily for today. That was our first match of that combo. But maybe, speaking of things that are just fun, maybe not strictly optimal, but hey, while we're at it, we might as well, yeah, just mess around a little bit. This, of course, is a bit of a classic combo here. Give ourselves a little more firepower. It may not matter that much, but do this. Angara species for everyone. We could do that. Assuming you guys have Angara to play. There's this guy. This gal, I should say. You might lean toward this guy, because I'm not the biggest fan of this one. I think those are the only three. right? Obviously no
Yep,
common.
only 3 Angara.
Yeah.
The 2 ultra rares and the 1 rare.
Definitely will not use a biotic booster in this case. Don't think that will be the plan. This guy's just almost very interesting. I think some people can make him work, but I just feel like he needs slightly more firepower on his powers. It would make a world of a difference. Usually I would not use the gold boosters on gold, but I'd try it for that reason. Oh, this is not what I was expecting, but we can give that a go. Nanad, do you have any of the Angara characters?
I'm just trying to find.
Feeling this color scheme right now. I'm gonna be honest with you. Maybe there was a reason for it a while back, but I do not recall what it was. What it does make me think of, though, it's actually something that's fairly close to being. I think. That would get us closer still. I'm looking for a similar color here. I'm curious if anyone's gonna be able to tell what I'm going for here. I doubt I can get the skin tone to be one of the... maybe I can make the skin tone work for what I'm going for here. Hold on. Something like that-ish. I feel like the lighting in my room is probably making it a little bit harder to tell, but is at least somewhat close to what I'm thinking of. That. Sure. Oh, this. Hold on. Make this a little bit better. Oh, that's that color. Oh, okay. No, no. That's not what I'm going for. This might need to be a little bit darker. What is the... Hold on, where is this color coming from? Let's make that slightly more a yellow. Okay. Where is it this one? Color that I'm eyeing that I feel like we could make a little bit better. Where is it? Can't tell which one it is. Looks like it would be the light. Huh? It is that. Okay. Oops. Hold on. Is the light color. I guess I'm trying to make the light be darker, which is easier said than done. We make it... actually... What do we want here? Go this route? I think we...
Fortunately, I don't have any.
No, no, that's okay. No worries, Nanette. Okay, so my idea... Well, this is a little too green, I feel like. But this one? That's gonna make it more green. Okay, I think I'm good to go. My character is all based on electric powers. That's your hint. And the color scheme, which I tried to get think electric powers plus this color scheme.
Oh. Isn't it from the old comic book?
There might be comic books, but that's not the first thing I would think of when it comes to
We
this
need to
stuff. Now, of
secure
course,
this
in the
position.
actual game,
Enemies on the move. Be ready.
colors probably look a little different than what I was expecting. This is not
Oh.
as authentic and as close as what I might have liked to have seen. Certainly in the dark, it doesn't look as close. Right? Maybe? A little bit closer. Yay! Sort of. As I was just saying before, I feel like this guy needs slightly more firepower, and there we saw one. Combo oftentimes is just not quite enough to do what you want it to do. By adding a little bit of shooting.
It's probably because most of the electric combo damage is supposed to come from the AoE field that it makes.
But technically, I think it is the DOE that you want to be the thing that gets the kill. I think that's what actually determines whether you get the thing about this guy is it gives you significant recharge speed boost if you get a kill with your electric combos. But I think it's technically the damage over time that it's checking for. And if that's what gets the
It
kill,
does
then
have a little bit of upfront damage.
so yeah, they're just doing a tiny bit of shooting in between, just before you set off the combo, just afterwards, or sneak in a little bit of additional damage. Technically, for tech mastery daily purposes, that does mean you're using a little bit of damage from non-tech powers, which is obviously not optimal. But I would tend not to use this
Why
guy.
is it flamethrower
We're tracking
everything?
reinforcements.
Yeah, exactly. That's why flamethrower is my go-to for tech mastery, not this. You also get
Enemies headed your
tons
way.
of assist points for flamethrower, which I believe does help for that purpose, whereas the same... I don't think can be said, at least not to the same extent on this guy. But the game really does not know which one of those enemies it wants to have me lock on to.
Reading a flat
Oh
line.
boy.
Oh. Wait. Not sure which one of us is doing that. Apparently you were. I was doing my best
Okay.
impression. That guy. Oh, that was just for me staying alive.
Almost drawn.
I suggest you are stealing voice lines from somebody else. One of you guys ran out of ammo. Where's that guy?
Three more to go.
Yep, wonderful. Thank you.
Ansala Venjuri.
Good. Stay sharp.
Nope.
On the tech power rebate, does it need to be you that gets the kill? Gets the tech power kill, or would it apply
Get them
for like
uploaded before we lose the
allies
connection.
as well if they have the perk? If you
What do you
did
mean?
it.
I'm not sure I understand.
But like, say all of my abilities were on cooldown, and I have the tech power.
I'm sorry, one moment. I just had a very unusual thing happen to me. It was very distracting. I'm gonna have to ask you to start again. Sorry, say that one more time.
Actually, no, I think I just saw it happen on my side. You got killed.
Wanna set off combos on Ascendant. Their shields are down. Fun fact is, it's suboptimal because it makes them immediately put their shields back on. Even if you factor in the damage that you deal with the combo itself, it is still not as quick to take enemies down as it would be to just hit the exposed Ascendant with direct damage.
Squad member down.
One moment.
Or
I'm being greedy. Never mind, I shouldn't have been greedy. For a number of reasons.
Flatline.
I'm sorry. Mistakes were made. And I'm gonna get
Squad member
punished
down.
doubly for it.
Again.
Yellow
Okay.
alien from Ben 10 is your final
What?
guess. Oh,
Oh, I don't know his name, but I know what you're talking about.
I'm afraid that is not what I had in mind. That may be a great answer. I must say, I don't have much experience with Ben 10, so I can't really confirm or deny the accuracy of that. I'm gonna have to take your word for it. The intention was simply Pikachu.
You need to answer that.
It's going for yellow, and the thing that inspired me was, it's hard to tell from this angle, but there's some vertical stripes on, I think, my character's upper thigh or something like that. It might be easier to see from messages using the same character on the same color scheme, but I saw those multiple straight dark lines. I thought, oh, that's kind of like Pikachu. You have the yellow base and the dark lines.
I'm coming!
Love
I'm
being
coming!
in the corner, man.
Masala Benju.
It was on the list. It wasn't quite the right shape. Pikachu, too big? Well, I'm afraid, unfortunately, I can't change that.
Data received. That's a wrap.
This character is just built different. Different than Pikachu.
Three more to go.
Find safety!
Good. Stay sharp.
Maybe more of a Raichu. That, you know, if you had said Raichu for your guess, I think I would have had to have given it to you.
Raichu's are on.
Hostiles en route.
Tracking a field!
no use.
Raichu's your second favorite Pokemon? Okay, well, I mean, that begs the question. What's your third? Yeah, you heard me correctly. I bet you expected me to say first. Nah. Who needs you first? Oh, definitely should have charged. Oh, you sure are. You sure are.
Squad member down.
Bah.
Oh, that's also not where I want to respawn. I mean, it does put me right next to Nanad.
Hold up!
However, it does also put me right in the line of fire. I probably should have dropped the barricade, which I've yet to do once this entire match. Oh, hold on. We're differentiating between shinies and base versions as well. Well, that changed things. realize that was part of the memory. Okay, is it just me, while we're on the topic of shiny Pokemon, is it just me? Maybe I'm a party pooper. I feel like a lot of the shiny Pokemon colors, I just think are lame. I think they're just lazy, very strange neon colors, or just odd hues that just make no sense. They just look like they're radioactive Pokemon.
Yeah, some of them are pretty annoying. I hate the ones that are just slightly off shades.
Yeah, and there are ones that are fairly different at all, to the point where you might not even notice that it's a shiny. But then there are a few where you look at them and you say, okay, this was deliberately intended to be a color or set of colors that actually makes a lot of sense for this Pokemon, and it legitimately looks cool, almost as if this could have been in an alternate universe, just the normal color scheme for this Pokemon. So those ones are great. It just feels to me as though there's a surprising lack of those. So more often than not, personally, I think a lot of the shinies kind of look like trash. I think that's, on average, kind of the way it goes. So when there is a good shiny, I'm all for it, but, like, for example, the first ever shiny that I got, I think before I even knew what a shiny really was a shiny. It was on, what was this?
Ascendant, watch out!
Pokemon Gold or Pokemon Silver, and it was a shiny Pidgey. Probably not the preferred Pokemon you'd want to see for a shiny. Also, it's just gray. It's just like dull colors, and that's what's different. So it's basically like, hey, congratulations, you have one of the most boring Pokemon, and also it looks worse than usual. Congratulations. I hope you're happy. This was a 1 in 100,000%, or 1 in 1,000 chance of happening.
Teammate injured.
I think it was about 4,000.
I mean, it was back, but nowadays they've made the shinies much more common than they used to be. They've kind of really done that with a whole bunch of Pokemon games. So back in the day, it was truly quite a rarity. Nowadays, it's that rare. Purple spin on it. I don't remember what the shiny looks like for that. I don't know off the top of my head. That sounds like that could be color scheme wise. As I said, I think the shiny Pidgey's just boring. That at least sounds like it's interesting. Now, does it just seem totally wacky and crazy and make it hard to take the Pokemon seriously? To the point where you don't like it very much? Like, in some cases, maybe it looks kind of crazy and totally out there, but that's fine, because it kind of fits the theme for Pokemon, in which case, alright, that works, but...
Beans keep teleporting on me, and they're already halfway through their, route animation.
What's my favorite Pokemon? You know, I'll give you what at least was originally my favorite Pokemon. I haven't really gone back and assessed.
Enemies clear. Stay alert.
Okay, I'll give you my original favorite Pokemon, and then if I had to update it with a slightly more recent Pokemon, I'll give you that. But you will probably be able to tell that I'm more of an OG Pokemon kind of person in that way. My original favorite Pokemon was Sandshrew, which generally not known as being one of the more powerful Pokemon. But hey, you know, this was long before I knew what an IV or an EV was. Oh, I also did not realize it was an wait, sorry, well, I actually
With us, that means we're just away. Getting them away.
So yeah, original favorite Pokemon was Sandshrew. After that, though, I had to give you a more updated and maybe more optimal Pokemon. You're like, okay, sure, Lids, you like Sandshrew, but you wouldn't want to actually build a team around him. If you were to build a team around a Pokemon, what would you pick? For that, I would say I'll go Groudon. Doesn't have to be the new fancy, what is it, Primal Groudon. Plain old starter Groudon, normal version. That's fine with me. Otherwise, go Sandshrew. You may notice. Wait a second, please. They're both ground type Pokemon.
Oh boy.
Is that a coincidence? You know, it kind of is, to be honest with you.
No, you're just a ground monotype right now.
Groudon, fun fact, base Groudon. Not a fire type. Only a ground type. Huge fan of Godzilla. It's the only hint I can give you. Okay, well, I mean that. Well, there are two potential answers I can think of. I think I would have at least a 50% chance guessing your favorite Pokemon that hint. One other Pokemon that it potentially could be, but I think it's a little less likely. One additional question. I could clarify which one it is and is not.
Squad member down.
Oh boy.
Okay. The most correct answer is right. That's what I figured. I think the Pokemon's name starts with a T and rhymes with Irenitar.
Say the rhymes with love.
Three more to go. All enemies clear. Keep it up.
That would be the one. Nice, nice. The other one that was maybe more of a stretch, but potentially
Time to go.
could have been
Get to the extraction
the
site.
answer would have been
Ascended.
actually, now that I think about it, there's technically even one more that maybe you could argue it's the same description, but one that I was originally thinking would be my next guess would have been technically the first Pokemon. And if you're saying, oh, what? Bulbasaur? How is Bulbasaur
What you mean Mew?
like Godzilla? No. The answer is not Bulbasaur. That is Pokemon number one, but it was not the first Pokemon created. Nor was Mew.
Teammate injured.
Talking about a Pokemon that's... Excuse me. This is multiple. There we go. I'm talking about a Pokemon that shows up later in the Pokemon, in the Pokedex. Although, technically, it's the first Pokemon created.
First Pokemon created doesn't mean that. They are just the first Pokemon.
Teammate injured.
Oh boy.
For whatever reason, they decided to put Pokemon later in the Dex. What's the logical? Well, it's not a starter Pokemon. I guess that's the logic. It's not even like the first Pokemon after the starter Pokemon either. Rhydon, exactly. Rhydon is the other Pokemon I was thinking of, because like, is that sort of inspired by Godzilla? Maybe. I could sort of see it. But I think, as you were saying, think
Oh, boy.
Tyranitar is probably the most obvious answer for that. The other one that I started to only just now convince myself could maybe be justified is also being inspired by Godzilla would be also Gen 1. Am I crazy for thinking Nidoking gives off a little bit of Godzilla vibes?
All targets down, everyone standing. Drinks are
Aggron. That's an interesting one as well. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, on a certain level, Godzilla is a big, hulking, bipedal monster. So, to the extent that you have large, with spikes, so if you have a large bipedal Pokemon with spikes, in some ways it's always going to be somewhat Godzilla-esque. Which is maybe where I'm coming from when I say Rhydon, Nidoking, and Aggron here as well. Could all sort of fall under that same category. I mean, also that's just generally a cool style of Pokemon, so I think many of those are among my favorite Pokemon as well. I also am a big fan of Tyranitar. Sometimes I've thought to myself, if I were like a Pokemon trainer in a game, and I had, obviously many Pokemon trainers that you face off against don't actually have all 6 Pokemon spots, but if I had all 6 Pokemon spots, and I were like a gym leader, so I had one Pokemon that's probably stronger than the others, that's sort of my key Pokemon, and then I had a few others that may still be good, but maybe not as good. What would those Pokemon be, and would I have a particular type that my Pokemon would be affiliated with? And given how, as I said, 2 of my favorite Pokemon are ground types, yeah, maybe I would be a ground type trainer after all. Obviously, if I'm using Groudon, then Groudon has to be my ace. But maybe a Sandshrew and a Sandslash balances that out a little bit, so it doesn't just feel like this is some ridiculously OP random Pokemon trainer who would have no right existing in that form unless maybe if it's the final Pokemon champion, you know, the boss. But Sandshrew, Sandslash, Tyranitar may be a little bit too strong if I also were to have Groudon in that situation. Also, he's not a ground type, but I feel like he's ground adjacent. You can make that one, you can let that one slide. And beyond that, I don't know who my other ones would be. I mean, I'm generally gravitating toward earlier generation Pokemon, because that was, at least originally, what I grew up with. So, I don't know, not that they necessarily need to be that way, but I just don't have the same level of nostalgia about some of the newer ones, even if some of the new ones do have some interesting designs, in some cases. Yes, was I a little disappointed when I started to see some Pokemon based on chandeliers? Sure. Those ones, not quite as inspiring to me. Nanad, do you need one more of the gold sandstorm to complete your daily?
Yeah.
Okay. Please.
Well, when I was saying it, is it the comic book I was thinking about the X-Men?
Oh, Wolverine kind of
Was-
has similar colors.
Yeah,
Again,
and,
black and or yellow, mostly yellow and kind of black, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but there is another character,
Hmm.
Storm.
Color scheme to start. Color.
No, the color on your suit.
Does she have a yellow suit?
Oh yeah,
I don't remember that.
in early comics. yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't don't associate her costume slash uniform with any particular color. You'd go,
She
Roach,
have
you'd go
that-
Dark Gym Leader with Houndoom, Hydreigon, Crocodile, Greninja, Umbreon. That's a good set. How many is that? So, Houndoom, Hydreigon, Crocodile, Greninja, Umbreon. So that's 5. I feel like 5 is reasonable, because as I said, there are not very many opposing trainers in Pokemon in the games that you would go up against that actually have the full 6. So maybe 5 is the right answer. So yeah, I'd go Sandshrew, Sandslash, Tyranitar if I'm allowed to have 2 really strong Pokemon, but that's, I mean, already having Groudon is a huge stretch, of course, right? That's maybe too much already. What is that 6? T-Tar is what I missed. T-Tar, Houndoom, Hydreigon, Crocodile, Ninja, Umbreon. Okay, yeah. What else would I put then? I like, Kangaskhan is just a normal type, right? Is Kangaskhan part ground type? Or am I totally making that up? Kangaskhan. Is it bad that I may have only just realized now for the first time that Kangaskhan may or may not be a play on words for Genghis Khan?
Mhm.
Like, there are some Pokemon that very clearly are only slight deviations from real things, real words. I don't know what Kangaskhan has to do with Genghis Khan, but I feel like perhaps I should have made that realization earlier. I don't know that I ever did. I'm not a huge Steelix. Is Steelix Spark ground type? Wait, what is... Onyx is rock ground. Steelix is steel ground? Surely, right?
Well,
Yeah.
the Genghis Khan could be ground Pokemon because Genghis Khan was now in the ground. So
I don't know what other Pokemon I would put, especially if I had to get rid of Groudon and I had to be either purely ground or, you know, have one exception to that, T-Tar likely being my exception. Oh, again, maybe this is stretching it a bit in terms of how powerful I'm allowed to have these Pokemon be, but I am a big fan of Swampert. So if I'm allowed to have Swampert in there, I would like that. So that could be my last Pokemon if I'm allowed to keep Groudon. If I have to swap Groudon out for something else, then that does. And at that point, it's become tricky. I'm not sure who I would put in that spot. Maybe I'd try to find one of the more recent Pokemon, because I think all those guys are Gen 3 or earlier. Garchomp is obviously a very good Pokemon, but it's one of those ones that, again, it's more recent, so there's zero nostalgia factor in that case. So it would be almost purely from a, oh, this is a good Pokemon angle, and also, I mean, obviously, it does look cool, but I feel like I'd probably try to find something, especially because I feel like, again, I'm sort of pushing the limits in terms of what could reasonably be expected of a random trainer. Like, obviously you could say, like, oh, I'm just gonna have all the strongest legendaries, or let's see, are we doing a VGC team? Okay, in that case, if we're doing the official competitive format, I'm gonna drop my controller, but then I'm gonna also make sure that I take the most powerful Pokemon ever and use Incineroar. And then maybe I'll have Mega Kangaskhan, and maybe I'll have Dugtrio. I mean, Dugtrio legitimately does actually have a use case in competitive Pokemon, I believe. But I mean, I kind of see Dugtrio as more of a meme, to be honest. Maybe from the show with the song that the Diglets and the Dugtrios do. It's a little hard to take them seriously after that. So I'd have to give it a little more thought. To me, Geodude, Graveler, and Golem, they're just a little too basic for me. I just don't find them especially interesting. So I would probably want to spice it up a little bit more than that. So I'd be Sandshrew, Sandslash, Swampert, Tyranitar. There's one other besides Groudon that I had said, wasn't there? Was there? Maybe not. Maybe even with Groudon, I'm only at 5. Or maybe I just am forgetting. I mean, in some cases, you can have 2 of the same Pokemon, but again, if we're trying for variety's sake to mix things up a little bit, probably would opt not to do that. Yeah, I'd have to. I do like Rhydon. That's true. Could potentially be Rhydon. Not necessarily sure Rhydon would make the cut, but it wouldn't be a bad fill-in Pokemon in the last spot. He could potentially be my last pick. Have to take a closer look at the Pokedex. And again, if it were purely just in a vacuum based on personal preference, then it would probably end up being an earlier, not necessarily a Gen 1 Pokemon, but probably 1, 2, or 3. But if I'm trying to make the team a little more optimized, then perhaps I would get some of the power creep of one of the more recent ground types. Ooh, it might be Nidoking. I think it's Nidoking. Yeah, Nidoking is probably on the list. Speaking of the Godzilla-esque Pokemon, yep. Add that one to the list. That one's on the team. Yep. So...
What is the name of one that looks like a rock?
You might be thinking of Geodude? Geodude or Graveler. Those are the two that I
He
think...
has big hands.
Big hands? I think that's probably Geodude.
Is he a ground?
He might be ground rock. I just don't think he's that interesting, is all.
Well, yeah.
He's kind of like... To me, he's one of the most generic, common Pokemon. But yeah, if we go Sandshrew, Sandslash, Nidoking, Swampert, Tyranitar, and potentially Groudon if I'm allowed to go that strong. That might be my set right there. Everyone is ground except for Tyranitar, which I feel like is close enough to being a ground type. He has the Sandstorm stuff going on, potentially, which does also... Well, technically that's sort of more a rock thing, but it's also sort of a ground thing. I feel like you're allowed to have one exception, usually. So that, I think, would be my team. Alright. Well, I think we were saying we wanted to do one more with this setup for Nanad, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
Okay. I think I should be good now. Oh, slightly more recent Pokemon, again, going more along the lines of, I'm gonna optimize my team, would be, what's it called? The Pokemon that is oftentimes paired with Tyranitar. It has the drill. I'm blanking out on its name. It recently got a meta, a mega for the first time. Why am I blanking out on its name? I can remember the pre-evolution is Drillbur. For some reason, Excadrill. I think that's his name, right? Again, at that point, as soon as you start going into that generation, what is that, 4 or 5?
Stay sharp.
I do not have nostalgia for it at all, because I never really played those games.
Gen 5 for Excadrill.
Gen 5. So it's mostly just from, it's a ground type, and it synergizes really well with the team. And it's not blatantly overpowered, busted in a vacuum, the way that a random trainer having a legendary like Groudon would be. Obviously, it is potentially very strong, but in a way that seems more reasonable for a random NPC trainer that a player might encounter in the game would be.
Careful!
Whereas, I mean, how many times in the actual campaign do opposing trainers have legendary Pokemon? Does that ever happen? Does a rival even have a legendary at any point?
Yes, in Gen 5.
Starting,
you
okay.
literally fight in with the opposite of your box art legendary.
Okay. So yeah, I never played the Gen 5 one, so later on. Only in Gen 5, or is it Gen 5
Oh, wait.
onward?
Wait, random trainer specifically, or?
A rival, I think. Like, obviously, random trainers, I assume, just never happens, unless maybe in, like, the bonus content stuff like Battle Factory and whatnot. Maybe
Yeah, in the
happens.
Battle Factory, you have loads of people with legendaries. But, yeah.
3 left. Go get them.
I guess technically Gen 6 as well.
Nice job,
Wait,
Apex.
is it Gen 6
Keep it
or
going.
is it Gen 7? Alola, because Silvally / Type Null is apparently considered a legendary.
Okay. Yeah, so then you get some that are, you know, not box legendaries, not like the most supposedly theoretically overpowered Pokemon in the game, but you do get some that are technically still legendaries. Pseudo legendaries you get for sure. In that case, even like Elite Four,
Yeah,
you get
legendaries don't really pop up in a
pseudo
lot of kind of
legendaries.
teams.
Several generations.
Probably just dragons. Give dragons up to people like
Yeah.
Candy.
Like Lance, the final Elite Four guy in first generation, has 2 Dragonites, I think. And Gen 3, whatever the last member of the Elite Four before the champion, he has Salamence. So that's definitely a thing. So it depends a little bit on how authentic you want to be about it. If I were to have my own Pokemon team, how realistic am I being? Am I just a humble trainer with a perfectly reasonable set of Pokemon? Or am I like the main character and all of my Pokemon are perfectly optimized and I have multiple legendaries and all that stuff? Legendaries, starters, pseudo-legendaries.
That hurt them. Be ready.
So that just feels like, well, you're maybe pushing it a little bit in that situation. Which is why I'd like to have Groudon on my team, but at the same time, I don't know if that's
Recovery request.
technically
Locate and recover objects of interest.
too much. Very well, maybe.
Got the drop.
Oh, what, wait, what type is... I forget what type. Bug? It's Bug Rock. Might be able to tell what I'm thinking of just by
Got the drop.
that type combination alone, if I'm even remembering it correctly, because it feels really counterintuitive. But also, speaking of what we were just talking about earlier, when it comes to not optimal per se, but can do some really crazy gimmicky stuff. Bug Rock. What Pokemon am I thinking of? A Pokemon that for a second I might have thought was ground, and therefore perhaps I could have included on my team.
Chuckle, chuckle.
Indeed. Correctamundo.
We all love Chuckle.
Artifact recovery is complete. Nice job.
I would not be against having Shuckle on my team either, although that would be another Pokemon that isn't actually a ground type, and so if I'm supposed to be a ground type trainer, then I don't know if I'd have to sacrifice Tyranitar to make room for Shuckle, which, in order to make my team look more reasonable, maybe is a decent move to make. But if I am allowed to have two non-ground types, then maybe Shuckle will be the one replacing Groudon. I mean, it does have the theoretical maximum amount of damage of any Pokemon in the game, so, like, I think that's a reasonable substitute for Groudon.
Just 3 hostiles remaining.
You a Shuckle fan as well, Roach? I mean, to be fair, yes. I think there are some pretty trolly things that you can do with Shuckle, so I could absolutely understand being on the receiving end of that and hating Shuckle for that reason. But as I have never really been the one doing or receiving any of the crazy Shuckle shenanigans, and it's mostly just a matter of the theory behind it being kind of hilarious.
Enemies incoming.
I've not been jaded by previous Shuckle experiences in that way. So I have
Tag the feed.
perhaps some blissful ignorance when it comes to that. I can understand if other people might be thinking, well, what do you mean? It's just want to, like, toxic stall all the enemies? All your opponents, that's your strategy? No. I'd much rather try to pull off the absolutely ridiculous, like, 50-step process to get the maximum possible damage from Shuckle, and 999 times out of 1,000, if not more often than that, it will fail. But I'm gonna be there, continuing to try nonetheless, and when it does happen, it'll be glorious. Indeed.
I really hate everyone's evasion to quote-unquote stall. Like,
Evasion, you said?
no, everyone's aversion. To
Oh, aversion.
Like, so many people just hate it. And I'm like, why? Like, sure, you basically sit there doing nothing for a while, but it's a lot more sensible
Reading a flat line.
in terms of actual gameplay
reading a
than
flat line.
what that one competitive player did, which I thought was absolute bullshit. So that player was going to lose, but he technically had the highest score, and he realized he could literally just stall out and let the game end from the connection timer. And God, that was gross.
Okay, wait, so admittedly, since at first I misheard you, which aspect are you or not averse to when it comes to stall?
I'm not averse to stall.
You are not
It's
averse to
literally
stall.
Like, it's built in game mechanics. Like, if there's a problem with it, it's literally everyone else. What's wrong with using a strategy that works? Sure, it's slow, but that just means you like taking the calm approach.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I also haven't really played enough Pokemon against other players to have been on the receiving end of stall, but I also have heard other people complaining about it. So I don't have a super strong opinion because I don't have personal experience there. But in general, I would say that I'm against fun police sort of play styles, and I could see how that's sort of the nature of stall to an extent.
I mean, the competitive aspect is always you need to build to counter your opponent. Have a build that literally gets unpunished because no one is allowed to play it for some reason. Then you need to learn how to deal with it. There's many things to deal with stall. People just don't use it.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, to an extent, it's like, okay, if you recognize that that is a way that you can win the game, then if you're playing to win, which obviously most people are, then you have a reason to pursue that strategy. It's just at times it feels like, okay, but at what cost? It kind of goes back to the whole thing we were talking about earlier with Mass Effect's multiplayer and other games, potentially other game multiplayer, any game at all, where there's just an objectively optimal way to do things. Obviously, stall is not universally objectively the optimal way to do things, but
Squad member down.
okay, so admittedly, yeah, I was gonna say, you have a fiend directly on top of you, so it is rather difficult to get you. Also, I should not have revived Investigoat, because, oh my goodness, Investigoat, on your screen, were you breakdancing? Because you sure were on mine.
Not on mine.
It was incredible. I absolutely should not have revived you. I should have just let you continue to breakdance, because you were setting the world on fire with your dance moves.
I'm reading a flatline.
Whoa.
Hello.
Hold on.
Hello.
Don't mind me as I briefly ground pound your corpse. So yeah, on one hand, like, I'll give you
Teammate injured.
an imperfect comparison, but something that has similar
3 hostiles remaining.
premise to sort of what you're describing here. Once upon a time, I played a lot of Gwent, the card game from The Witcher 3. But technically, there is the version of it, of course, that comes straight from The Witcher 3 campaign, which is against a computer, CPU. But there also was a standalone Gwent game that was PvP. And so, for that, there were a lot more cards, there were a lot more mechanics, so it was more complex in a number of ways. But one of the types of mechanics that existed in this game was mill, which may also exist in other card games as well, but basically the whole premise of it is that it's a card game. You have a certain number of cards in your hand, and at various points in time, you can draw cards from your deck, so you have more cards that you can play. But for the mill playstyle, the whole point of it is not to score more points than your opponent, which is usually the way that you would win. Instead,
Data transfer.
mill would go flying like that. Oh man, I'm doing the mid-air revives. all
You're
over the
forcing your
place.
opponents who have no cards to draw, and thus they lose.
Exactly. You basically remove all of your opponent's cards from their deck, such that they can't play any more cards, and you basically win by default once you've done that. Which, in some circumstances, yes, obviously can work, which is why some people did it. But at the same time, to me, it was the ultimate fun police game. The ultimate fun police approach. Because your strategy is quite literally, I am going to win the game by preventing my opponent from playing the game.
Nearly through.
So I always took great issue with other people playing this, because it was like, okay, if your entire objective is to make me not play the game, why am I playing the game in the first place? I'm just not going to play the game. And because you're basically just wasting my time, functionally. Your whole goal is to have me sit here and twiddle my thumbs while I watch you play your cards while I don't have any left. Are there ways to stop them from doing this? Yes, there are, of course. Is it unbeatable? No, it absolutely is not. So, it's not as if it's just some objectively optimal way to play at all times, but nonetheless, it was like, what would drive someone to want to play this style
Squad member
other
down.
than just to make other people's lives miserable, and at times succeed at doing that? It's like, okay, you know, I can't really support this.
Squad member down.
Oh boy.
And it does frustrate me when I'm on the receiving end,
Thanks.
just purely from the standpoint of my playing experience, but also just like a, hey, what the heck, man. You know, a little bit of trying to read into my opponent's intentions. Like, okay, that feels pretty messed up. If you just logged onto the game today and said, you know what, today I'm just gonna deliberately try to make people's lives, make people's day bad.
Go get him.
Sure, a small thing. On a certain level, it's just a game. But on the other hand, it's like, hey, people are trying to relax, have some fun. You're raining on everybody's parade, and that's your whole game plan. Then that's I find that really hard to respect.
We're tracking reinforcements.
So it's obviously not a perfect comparison to Stall in Pokemon, but in some ways I see some similarities there,
To the LZ.
because both are strategies that, not always, but sometimes, can be a viable way to win, and yet they are frowned upon by some because they make the playing experience considerably worse for their opponents
Tag the beam.
in ways that are not strictly gameplay related, because they're kind of drawing games out artificially and preventing their opponent from playing, or just turning what might have originally been a quick thing. Oh, I only have time for one match. Sure, I'll log on quickly into a... Oh, suddenly this match is taking 3 times as long. Okay, this is not what I signed up for. Oh yeah, Tachi, how's it going? Sorry, I did see you there, but we got all... Pokemon, Gwent talks. Doing some OG ME1, though. Oh, I do agree. Sniping in ME1 is tough, especially very early on. By the time you get to close to the end of the game and you've had time to get passive points, I can't remember to what extent actually the skill points make a difference for the accuracy, the steadiness of the sniper rifle, or if it's mostly just improving the weapon itself. Eventually it does start to feel better, but certainly for the first half of the game, very frustrating. Oh, I see, and it was OG. It wasn't ME1 on Legendary Edition you were talking about, like well, I guess that, yes. Just didn't, that part didn't really register. They did change that, didn't they? In Legendary Edition, they made the, I remember hearing them say that. They made it more consistent. I'm dying, yep.
That's how Apex gets it done. Come on, hold.
But yeah, so in that way, though I don't have much experience with being on the receiving end of Stall in Pokemon, given my thoughts and feelings about Mill in Gwent, I imagine I probably wouldn't be a big fan of Stall either. But I don't know just how nefarious it is. Because Mill in Gwent at times felt very nefarious. Especially because, like, in a vacuum, as I was saying, Mill was not strictly a great strategy. It was winnable, but it was not like it was overpowered or anything. But I did tend to play in some Gwent game modes that had alternative rule sets, some of which were quite crazy, quite outlandish. And there were a few of those, and it rotated with a new rule set every week, shuffling between like 12 or so different rule sets, some of which Mill was very strong for. So especially on those, it was like, okay, on some level, yes, I guess that means it's more understandable that people are using Mill under these circumstances, but it also was more frustrating when, again, the optimal way to play the game was to basically not play the game. Alright, well that, I believe, should be the prestige stuff's done for all of us.
Yeah,
So...
that is for me.
Okay. Well, thanks for stopping by, Nanette.
4:50 a.m.
Oh, yeah. No worries. Get some rest, man.
Oh
Get
yeah.
some sleep.
Oh yeah. So see you later.
See you later. Nad was hearing us talk earlier about our most efficient ways to go to sleep, and was like, I could be doing that, but first, let's get a little bit of Mass Effect Andromeda in.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Now it's time to
Sure.
sleep.
Yeah.
Catch you
See
later.
around the films. Yeah. Bye bye.
Alright, well, we do have room if anyone else is interested in getting in. Let us know if there's anything you guys would like us to do. Otherwise, we could look at some of the Apex missions, but the Prestige dailies at least are done, of course. Let's take a quick peek at what these look like today. Weekend Assault Team, Remnant, Paradox. Okay, one life to live on gold. Yeah, that is a bit annoying. At least it's not plat. It is still gold, so that is somewhat of a factor. Outlaw, Aqua, Pistol Skirmish on silver. I mean, once you get down to silver, it's not really a big deal either way. Well, apparently every daily is on Aqua. No, half of them are, but okay. Any preferences, Investigo?
Not really. I'm just chilling. Can't really see the apexes from here anyway.
I would say that the gold apex definitely is not, quote, just chillin', unquote. And that is rarely the case on plat, regardless of what the difficulty modifier is.
Would need more people for plat anyway.
Yeah, let's see if happens to be anyone else who's on who I might be able to invite from the friends list. Give it a shot.
I mean, that's the thing, like, it shows people online, but it doesn't even show you what game they're in.
Right, like I saw, I think maybe 4 people who were online, and in my head I was just doing no, I see they're online. I don't think that's Andromeda. This person, yeah, okay. No, that person, nope, probably not Andromeda. Maybe I'm wrong, but just had to do some mental calculus there to figure it out. Like, oh, that person says they're online, but I have not seen them playing Andromeda in approximately forever. So I'm guessing that is not what they are playing at the moment. Yeah, plan is still to do ME3 tomorrow at our usual time. That is the plan. This is our second stream of the day today, so admittedly, my voice may be a little bit sore at that point. So that is maybe the one asterisk caveat is, if it turns out I wake up tomorrow and I can barely speak, then that may mean that we'll have to do something a little bit differently. But barring that, yes, that is the plan.
Do you want to take a rest now?
That's alright. I'm good for at least another match or two. I did take a break in between for a few hours.
Okay.
Did some PoE 2 earlier today.
Because it's good to look after yourself if you need to.
Well, this is true. As you were saying earlier with the whole you slept in a lot today, that was my intention today, and didn't quite sleep in as much as I would have perhaps liked to have done. And yet, still got a later start to the first stream than I had intended, which meant I didn't have quite as long a break in between as I might have intended, but such is the way of things. It doesn't always go perfectly according to plan. Have to make a new challenge if I can't talk. I feel like that is not the first time that has happened. So, we might already have some of those types of challenges. In fact, wait, do I still have... Yeah, I think I still have this. I don't know when I wrote this, but I still have this that was preloaded on. It's just hidden. Because it hasn't been applicable for a while. Wait, what does it even say in its entirety? Can't talk, lost my voice, turned off request because I can't coordinate with people. Yeah, I sort of remember that being a thing. That's happened at least a few times, to be fair. But yeah, that's just been here the whole time. But just press a button and it goes away. And it has been invisible for a while now. A few years, I think. But it is a thing, in a way, I guess. Well, I mean, such is the nature of... I mean, we used to, back in the days of when it was Path of Exile 1 and exclusively Path of Exile 1, we were usually streaming every night, which is obviously a lot. Although we tended not to stream for as long with an individual stream. Maybe on weekends, it might have still been quite a while. But, I mean, that still adds up. Then, once we started mixing up different games, we still had... On Saturdays for Mass Effect 3, there was a time period where we were regularly doing 12-hour Mass Effect 3 streams on Saturdays, which, yeah, that, I definitely needed to sleep a long time after that to recover and not feel like my voice was completely fried on the next day. And if I didn't do that, then it started to add up over time, and that's probably what tended to lead to those situations where I had lost my voice, and maybe why it happened more regularly back then. But then you have stuff like, sometimes in work you have a bunch of meetings where you're talking and stuff like that, and then those things start to add up.
I'm actually gonna do, because I think I have a headache coming on.
Oh, okay, no worries. Well, in that case, yeah.
Sorry about this.
No worries, yeah, get some rest. Make sure you, drink a lot of water as well. I think that can help too.
Take care.
You too. Get better. Get better soon. Alright. Maybe in that case, I'll just see what, if anything, we can join here. It's not so late that I would expect everyone to have signed off by now, but it's getting a little close to that point. So... that's not a great sign. Wait, hold on. Just create a match real quick so we can take another look at this. Did we have any other people? Oh, wow. Yeah, no, it's not a lot of people. Like, these two people I have exclusively seen in Mass Effect Andromeda. So these are the two that I tried to invite before. And then there's only one other person who I see who's also online, and I don't know if I've ever seen them in Andromeda. I think only in ME3, and even then, only years ago. So I am skeptical that we will be successful here. Curiosity. Oops. Definitely not about to do this as a solo. Definitely not about to do this as a solo either. We wanted to, like, we could do the bronze Apex solo if we really wanted to. Okay, we got one of these people. Now, I didn't really have a plan, is the thing. They're probably just seeing this, like, random bronze mission. They're like, Lids, why did you invite me to this? I don't understand why you needed my assistance. So now I feel like we have to do something bigger. I don't know who this person is. This is random stranger. But now we do have 3 people. I don't know if this person's up for platinum. I have done platinum with this person many times before. But... what is the... it's weekend assault team? Okay. We have not done any platinum yet today, have we? Which means I have not done platinum for several weeks. We had a little bit of a warm-up, of course, with all our other stuff. But this is still... a bit of a different story here. And this is where, especially, okay, I was about to say, for people who are unfamiliar with the way things work on Platinum, it is very much possible to sabotage your team on Platinum and make it more difficult with you in than it would be without you in, if that makes any sense. Oh. Well, I scared off the other person, the one who I had done matches with before. So now we're just, it's us and the complete stranger. But the fact that they switched to an Angara Avenger was a bit of an encouraging sign. That would suggest they have some idea as to how important it is to be invisible with Cloak on Plat. But obviously, weakened assault team does make it harder still. And with only 2 people, that is generally pretty tough on any plat mission. This would still be a little bit tricky here. Would love if we had one more person. But alas, that other person did just flee. Them now tried to invite this person several times. Maybe they're not in. I mean, wait, hold on. If I do... Oh, and then our other teammate just left as well. If I do it this way, does it give any more info? Oh, it does. Okay, so yeah, Andromeda, Sims 4. I don't think they're about to hop into Andromeda. Well, let's see. In that case, maybe we can find another random existing lobby. If not, we'll just do the bronze solo, or bronze Apex, and we'll do it solo. And maybe that will end up being our last one. It does seem as though most people may have called it a night a little bit early today. And is there... It's hand-to-hand? Yeah, sure. We'll go melee of some variety here in that case. We'll do... I do like the Krogan Vanguard. We were doing some Krogan stuff earlier, though. So do we mix it up a little bit? Maybe. Maybe we'll pass on you. Oh, okay. No war arrow. Give him a quick... Where'd my mouse go? No worries. We haven't done you yet today. We do tend to play you a lot, so we could certainly do that. But if we're looking to mix things up a little bit and go the melee route, at least to an extent. What if we do... I feel like that's my second most common melee character. It is a fun melee, for sure. But we're really trying to spice it up a little bit more. There are some that I refuse to use. Neither of these are going to happen. Could... It's melee primes, but for base damage it's actually lower than just a stock standard melee. Which may not matter on bronze melee boosting Apex missions, but I'm almost certainly overthinking this, of course. And we could also do this, which I tend not to do. It's not my go-to character for Platinum. It's not even my second character. It's probably not even my third character for Plat. It's probably not even my fourth character for Plat. But it tends to be a go-to for a lot of other people. In fact, I don't even know that I've really set this up to be a melee-oriented character as much as just a designated grenadier. Oh, hold on. Let's take those off if we're about to do a bronze mission. Do we do melee stuff here? Power melee. Weapon stuff. Okay. Little bit, but not a lot of melee. Did not do melee there. Did not do melee there. Okay, so yeah, not really set up as a melee character. We do still have Avenger Strike. Obviously, we can melee. Yeah, we'll do it. It's the rare daytime Aqua mission. Oh, hey, Warpro.
This one's simple. Clear the area and lock it down.
I'm afraid Investigote has fled the scene of the crime. He wasn't feeling well, so it's perfectly reasonable. No judgment there. He's getting some rest. We do have room. In fact, I believe this lobby is still public. It's the Bronze Apex mission. It did seem as though a lot of people were calling it a night early.
Guard yourself.
At least for people playing the game. I don't know so much in chat necessarily, but yes, Investigator's case, yes, that is true. But it seems like maybe this is going to be our last one. Also in part because this is our second stream of the day, and we are still planning on streaming for much of the day tomorrow, so for the sake of preserving my voice, that may also be of interest.
Cover. Shadows
If
hiding.
you'd like to hop in, we just started this match. There's a good indicator of how ill-adjusted I am to this character. Ooh, yeah, no worries, Warpro. I also admittedly did not really realize. I did not give much thought to how. Yes, this is bonus melee damage to save that mission. On the other hand, it is Remnant, who is almost universally the most difficult type of enemy to melee because there are several enemies that fly. Fortunately, we are one of the few melee characters who can easily melee in midair. You can also get meleeed while I completely whiff on my melee. It's actually my specialty. Thank you for asking. Input to sprint be quite painful last 2 days. Has not been great. Ooh. Yeah, no. In that case, no worries.
Protect yourself.
Does feel a lot like I'm kind of just consistently waiting for
More to go.
Protect yourself.
our Avenger Strike, our level 1 Avenger Strike to come off cooldown, which doesn't feel great. Again, I think a lot of that has to do with the enemies being flying enemies fairly often. It means pretty hard to just do a standard punch. Also, I mean, it's bronze, so quick little paw here or there probably deletes the enemies pretty quickly as well. It's not as if we have to exclusively use melee.
Enemies incoming.
Ooh, yeah, no, War
Move
Pro.
quickly.
That sound good. So I'm gonna take it easy. Rest up. Put the visual strain on it. Beyond that, I am not a doctor, so I cannot speak any more to it,
Protect yourself.
as I am not an expert. Oh. Okay, so hands for anyone who was expecting that to be the enemy that we would target? No, Jimmy. I know you're lying. I know that you didn't realize there was an enemy there. I don't think anybody did. Excuse me? They're just kind of floating there.
I'm unprotected.
Hold on. Up we go. That actually wasn't good. Relying heavily on the very slow cooldown Avenger Strike.
My shields have fallen.
Saying
Shadows
no!
hide us.
I see.
Sensors clear for now. Great shooting.
Well fought.
We've got major enemy targets nearby. Let's take them out.
I will do it.
What's doing this stuff?
Target down. We've got a read on another priority target. Target eliminated. We've got a read on another priority target.
Guard yourself.
You got them all.
Ain't nobody got time. I'm not waiting for the event to strike.
Three left.
My
Go
shield.
get them.
Actually, I was in the middle of a melee animation, thank you very much.
One remains.
I called dibs.
That hurt them. Be ready.
Well fought.
Enemies headed your way.
Move quickly.
I was just thinking it'd be nice to melee multiple of these enemies at once, then I realized, no, that strike is exclusively a single target skill.
Unprotected.
Is that a thing? Yeah, no, this
Seek cover. Father Rosa. My shield.
excuse me, sir.
My
Once
shield.
again, that was about to interrupt my melee. Just barely did it early enough. That's our area of effectivity, I suppose. Also, a little tough hit target sometimes against flying enemies.
Protect yourself.
It can be done. 2-for-1 value. Not quite. That didn't do
Three
My
left.
shield.
Go get them.
a grenade on that. I did not like the way that guy was looking at me.
Alive.
Very judgmental, like he was quite literally looking down on me.
Well fought.
Enemies headed your way.
Let us be gone.
Where?
Seek cover.
We just do this. And say, no, thank you.
Father Rosa. My shield. This is what frustrates me sometimes. There are a few occasions there where the split second that I decloaked immediately had multiple enemies who were pinpoint accuracy shooting me. It just feels a little ridiculous. Remember, if enemies will immediately always hit you the moment you decloak in any 3 multiplayer multiplayer as well. It's a little more lenient than that. It just, I mean, obviously it is a computer that you're fighting against, so it quite literally is aimbot. Which, in other circumstances, in PvP multiplayer games, one would think of that as cheating, generally. Generally not a great sign when the wave takes you so long that the ammo boxes organically restock.
All enemies clear.
Yeah, obviously, in many games, the enemies controlled by CPU are programmed to
Enemies
attack you, and
triangulating
thus
our nearest outpost.
they will
Find
behave
their sensor
accordingly.
arrays and get them broken.
But despite that, it must be in many cases deliberately designed in such a way, ideally, that they are not absolutely perfect.
One problem gone.
You know, split-second decision-making at perfect precision, perfect machine-like accuracy. I mean, obviously it is a machine, and it can be programmed to do that stuff, but generally, I think games are probably better when more realistic,
Hang in there, Apex.
when enemies don't immediately turn 180 degrees and snipe you from the entire length of the arena away with heat-seeking missiles that can hit you even
All
through
enemy
cover.
devices are now offline.
Lids, that seemed like an awfully specific example. It may or may not have been a reference to prior experiences that you've had in Andromeda. You know, that's an interesting observation that you just made. Theoretical straw man. I wonder if there's a grain of truth to that. Perhaps there is. Who are you trying to melee? Who was I trying to?
Just 3 hostiles remaining.
Guess I'm a bit of a hypocrite. There, yeah. I said that was originally the enemy I was going for.
Enemies clear. Stay alert. Shuttle incoming. Get to the extraction zone.
Oh, hello there.
Protect yourself!
Who could know?
Destroyer! Be prepared!
Another one. Oh, that's still a cooldown. A lot of guys are here, but also trying to see if I could do not restart, bro. Excuse me, no, I was gonna boot you. Thank you. That's considerably more difficult to boot. No. Hang on.
My shields have fallen!
Okay, if I had a grenade or two, wouldn't be a bad spot to drop one.
All targets down, everyone standing.
There was a target. Huh? What's that? I'm not sure what I'm reading, Roach. Is it bad that the first thing I thought of when I read your message was, is that supposed to be a Yoda statement? That was my first impression. Oh. Alright, well, as I was saying, I think it may make sense for that to be our last one of the day. We finished the Prestige dailies. As I said, I mean, technically, we don't really need to do that anymore, but I guess we can. We also didn't really do many that we did the bronze apex just then, but we didn't do any of the other ones. Then again, that doesn't really matter all that much anymore either. So it's just the strange world we're living in now, in the post Max Manifest Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer world, that is. As we were saying, I mean, I guess we'll still go to the store and pick up some consumables from this stuff, if nothing else, in which case expert packs probably are definitely the preferred option, since we get more volume in that case. Sadly, I must go for now. Okay, that's what I assumed you were trying to say, but it just sounded like you were saying it in Yoda speak. So I was like, did I miss something? Were we talking about Star Wars? Maybe in some way, briefly, and I just lost that context? Forgot about that, but then maybe again it was perhaps just strange spell check or autocorrect. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe you were just trying to mess with me, in which case I think you succeeded. But as I was saying, I think this makes sense for us to wrap up here on this one. And as I was saying earlier, I mean, we don't really have any major goals that we're working toward anymore in Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer. We've hit the Apex rating number that we wanted to the extent that that meant anything. We hit 100,000 a while ago. Then we maxed out our bonus stats after that. That was also a while ago at this point. Actually, that might have come before the Apex rating, I forget. And then most recently, very recently, we maxed out all of our characters, and big part being all the ultra rare weapons. So we're in this strange place where kind of isn't much for us to do in Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer besides just mess around and have some fun with it, which, as I was saying before, maybe we will still find that to be the case. Well, I shouldn't say still. Maybe we will find that to be the case, but there were certainly many times when that was not the way that I felt about Mass Effect Andromeda. Off stream for sure with grinding, but even on stream sometimes with the, some of the frustrating matches that we had with various bugs and other finicky mechanics in Andromeda. So what I'm saying is, I don't know how much longer we're going to be doing Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer now that we've done all the big things we wanted to do. So next week, as for the schedule, I suppose I'll throw this screen on here. I mean, this was, of course, our Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer stream, but especially in a world in which we are potentially having two games competing for our Friday night streaming time slot between Path of Exile 2 and Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer, we very much still have things we're trying to do in Path of Exile 2. That same can't really be said for Andromeda, so we may end up dropping Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer in the relatively near future. Or maybe we'll squeeze in stream on
both Thursday night and Friday night, though, as I was kind of saying earlier, I mean, especially a day like today when we did a double stream, and we're doing a long stream tomorrow in all likelihood on Saturdays, as we often do as we always do, for Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, and then followed by a Sunday Pyre stream as well. My voice might be a little bit sore after that, and so adding an extra stream, going with both Thursday and Friday night stream next week, I don't know if I'm going to be up for that. So I'm just saying, there's a world in which the things the Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer streams, they may be ending pretty soon. But that's just my personal opinion on that front. It may be that in a week's time we're feeling good and we're up for some more Andromeda multiplayer, but we'll see. I can't predict the future. That's just a theoretical possibility that could find itself becoming to be the case. But either way, if you liked the stream, then of course you can hit the subscribe button to stay tuned for more stuffs that we get up to. You can also hit the like button. That is helpful as well. But actually the best way to stay up to date on all things lids is by joining my Discord server, which you can do. Just give me a second. Let me get a link for you. Let's see. Wait. Usually there's another button for this. Why is it not showing me the other button? Oh, because I'm okay. That was the wrong channel. That's why. I was about to get an invite link for the N7S Discord, which is generally where we do Mass Effect multiplayer stuffs on Discord. This is true, but that is not my Discord. My Discord would instead be a link. Let me copy it into chat. That would be that link right there. Alright, but that's going to be it for me for tonight, so thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the stream. And I'll catch you tomorrow for Path of Exile. No. Mass Effect 3. There we go. Too many games. I'll catch you guys later.